Buddhism teaches that the most persistent and convincing thing we experience, the feeling of being a solid, permanent me, is actually the greatest illusion of all. This illusion of self is not just a philosophical concept, it is the foundation of human suffering, confusion, and fear. To understand what the Buddha meant by the illusion of self, we have to explore what we normally assume I means. Every day, we refer to ourselves effortlessly. I feel happy. I am angry. I want this. I remember that. It feels as if there is a permanent someone inside us, a kind of inner owner, witness, or soul who experiences life from behind the eyes. Buddhism challenges this directly. It claims that this inner owner does not exist in the way we believe. The sense of being a solid self is created by mental processes that are constantly changing and never stable for even a moment. When Buddha looked deeply into his own mind during meditation, he searched for the self. He examined the body, sensations, thoughts, memories, and consciousness itself. But no matter where he looked, he found nothing that could be called an unchanging I. The body is always changing, cells dying and regenerating. Sensations appear and disappear like flashes. Thoughts rise and vanish. Emotions surge and fade. Memories shift and distort. Even awareness, the thing we use to observe everything else, fluctuates from moment to moment. Nothing stays the same long enough to be a true, permanent identity. What we call me is simply a stream, a river of processes flowing together in a pattern. Buddhism says that this pattern feels like a person, but there is no separate owner of the pattern. There is only the pattern itself. To visualize this, imagine a flame. It looks like a stable shape, but if you look closely, it is constantly moving and changing. Its form is temporary, held together only by conditions like oxygen and fuel. In the same way, the self is not a solid object but a process. The body, senses, thoughts, perceptions, habits, and consciousness depend on causes. When those causes are present, what we call a person appears. When the causes change, the person changes. This is why Buddhism uses the term anatman, meaning not self or absence of a fixed self. It doesn't mean we don't exist at all. It means we don't exist in the rigid, permanent way we imagine. One reason the illusion of self feels so real is that the mind creates a narrative around experiences. When hunger arises, the mind says, I am hungry. When fear appears, the mind says, I am afraid. This labeling process stitches events together into a story with a main character. But the main character is not truly there. It is a convenient invention to help the mind organize experience. When the story becomes too convincing, we suffer. We cling to desires because we believe they belong to us. We fear death because we believe something permanent is being destroyed. We defend our opinions because we believe they define us. Meditation is the main tool Buddhism uses to reveal this. When a person sits quietly and observes their thoughts, they begin to notice gaps between experiences. Thoughts appear from nowhere and dissolve by themselves. Sensations move through the body without an owner controlling them. The breath goes in and out without effort. The more carefully we observe, the more we realize that the mind is not a solid thing but a collection of events. In deep meditation, some people experience moments where the usual sense of me disappears entirely. There is awareness, but no owner of awareness. There is perception, but no perceiver separate from the perception. Many describe it as peaceful and freeing. Because the constant pressure of maintaining an identity fades away, this insight is not meant to be mystical or supernatural. It is simply a deeper look at everyday experience. Think about it in daily life. When you are fully absorbed in music or sports or art, the sense of self temporarily dissolves. You are not thinking, I am doing this. You are just doing it. Experience flows smoothly. Suffering decreases. Life feels lighter. Buddhism teaches that this state is closer to the truth than our usual identity-centered thinking. One common misunderstanding is that Buddhism claims nothing exists at all. But the teaching is more subtle. It says that things exist, but not in the permanent, independent, unchanging way we imagine. The self exists as a useful convention, like a name or a story, but not as a separate, solid entity. This view allows compassion to grow naturally. When we see that others are also collections of changing processes, just like us, it becomes harder to cling to anger and easier to feel empathy. There is no other to hate or fear. There is only the flow of life expressing itself in many forms. Understanding the illusion of self also reduces fear of death. When we think there is a fixed soul that will be destroyed, death becomes terrifying. But if we see that the self has always been a changing process, then death is simply another change. Not an ending, but a transformation of conditions. In Buddhism, rebirth is not the journey of a soul but the continuation of patterns, habits, and causes flowing into new forms. Just like a flame lighting another flame, the new flame is neither the same nor completely different. In everyday life, we constantly defend the self without realizing it. When someone criticizes us, we feel attacked because we believe there is a fragile inner entity being threatened. But if we look honestly, there is just a thought, an emotion, and a reaction. The part of us that feels hurt is not a real object. It is a mental event we identify with. When we see this clearly, we suffer less. Criticism becomes information, not an injury. Failure becomes a situation, not a personal defeat. The illusion of self also affects desire. We try to find satisfaction by feeding the me, more comfort, more status, more pleasure. But because the self is not solid, it can never be fully satisfied. Desire regenerates because it is based on an illusion. It is like trying to fill a hole that is not actually there. When we let go of the belief in a solid self, desire naturally weakens. We enjoy life more simply, without the constant pressure of chasing something to define us. Buddha taught that the illusion of self is the root of suffering because it creates attachment, aversion, and ignorance. Attachment happens when we cling to things as mine. Aversion happens when we push away things we fear will harm me. Ignorance is simply not seeing the changing nature of experience. When these three forces dissolve, suffering dissolves with them. Enlightenment, in Buddhism, is not becoming supernatural or morally perfect. It is the moment when the illusion of self fully drops away and the mind sees reality without distortion. To live with this understanding does not require becoming a monk or renouncing the world. It simply means noticing the truth in small moments. When a thought arises, observe it without calling it my thought. When a sensation appears, allow it without adding a story. When an emotion comes, watch it as an event, not a definition of who you are. This shift of perspective can bring clarity and calm to ordinary life, even if the illusion returns, and it will. Every moment of awareness weakens its control. The point is not to destroy the self, but to stop taking it so seriously. To see it as a character your mind is playing, not the core of your existence. When this becomes natural, life feels lighter, more open, and less trapped by fear or desire. You begin to experience yourself as part of a larger flow, not separate, but connected, not rigid, but fluid. And in that fluidity, there is freedom. Thanks for watching. You can download our app from Google Play. Get notifications, daily quotes from Buddha, guided meditation methods, articles about Buddhist wisdom and sutras from Pali Canon. Discover inner peace, cultivate mindfulness, and unlock the infinite wisdom of the Buddha with this app. Download link below. Our channel is new and needs your support. In our channel you can find many videos on the history and philosophical teachings of Buddhism. Please subscribe to our channel to support the teachings of Buddha on YouTube.